Hello again, time for a video on how to set up the volume axis. I could write this in words, and I have actually, but I think watching a video is probably the best way to get this sort of information. There's a lot of interaction in the controls, there's kind of a lot going on, and you know, pictures worth 1,000 words and stuff. Alright, I'm going to turn on the prototype, and here we're looking at the main page, and we can see that the power on load, the voice preset is 0, and I've done some things to this preset to make it this demonstration a little more straightforward. For instance, if we go to the envelope generator page, the VLOC and the knee, I have the VLOC set to 48. This control for every 16 detents gives you a 12 dB change. If you set it to the maximum, you've set it to all the way up to the top LED, above the top LED. The top LED would be fully on if I set this to the maximum. To set it so that the top LED is just off, we go down, we reduce the control 16 to 48. So this by setting the VLOC to 48, we're setting the threshold for the knee in between the third LED and the fourth LED. So right now we have the knee set to 0. So the strength of the knee is 0. So it's not, the knee won't be doing anything, even though the VLOC is set to something. The strength is set to off. So the knee is defeated at this point. And you need to cut off the knee because it distorts the volume field and confounds the basic setup of it. All right, one other thing I did with this voice preset was I set the harmonic level to a fixed level of 24. Normally you'd have some volume modulation of the harmonics to make it sound a little more realistic, but then if you're playing lower volume sounds, it reverts to more of a sine wave, and then it's harder to hear, so we're using fixed harmonics just to make the demonstration a little more obvious. Alright, here we are on the system page. It's the very last page, and you can see the new store and load encoders here. This is now the system preset is completely separate from the voice preset, and we have 4 slots here that we can use to set up to store things like the axis settings that are system-wide rather than per voice preset. So I'm going to cheat a little here, and I'm going to load preset 1. Preset 0 is the one that comes up at power up, and that's my preset, and I don't want to mess with it, so I'm going to mess with one of the other presets. So if we go to the pitch axis page, I just want to point out here that the linearity, which controls the near field linearity, kind of vaguely, it's not a real strong control, is set to -4. Now on the pitch side, in the pitch axis, you care a lot more about linearity, and it's more obvious and it's critical. And so we've set the pitch axis linearity to -4. The volume axis, you can see that the controls are very similar, and that there's linearity control here. I've set the volume side linearity to the same as the pitch. And I don't think you're going to really notice a lot of linearity variation by setting this control on the volume axis. And the pitch and volume axes on this prototype are very similar. They're almost identical except for the frequency that they operate at. So it's kind of a good bet to just set the volume side linearity to the same as the pitch side. But this could probably be zeroed out or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Now that 0 is 0, it's more of a nominal value that you would adjust off of. So anyway, let me go through the controls here. The first is VCal, and that's this knob, and it's set right now to 16. And VCal is just like on an analog theremin, the axis null point. It sets the far field linearity basically. Then we have linearity, which I just discussed, and we're not going to mess with that. Then we have a minus offset. What minus offset does is it takes the response of our hand to the axis, and it moves it down to the x-axis. And the intersection, where it intersects the x-axis, is then a pivot point that the sensitivity adjusts. So we move our response down, and then we can change the gain or the slope of the response with the sensitivity. And then we have an offset plus, which pulls it back up. So we pull it down, we offset it about a point, and then we pull it back up. And the reason we have two controls here for kind of doing the same thing is so that we can control the pivot point itself. So if you wanted to, say, change the response of the volume axis to closer louder rather than farther louder via the D-Lev control here, you could make it so that they kind of responded the same in the same kind of space. But that's something you can do later, and you don't have to do it if you just use one type of response. And you could use another system slot too if you wanted to do the V-Rev differently. You know, that's kind of what they're there for too. But anyway, you need three knobs to kind of control that sort of action fully. You know, the pivot, the sensitivity, and its location. And then we have a dither here, which is triangular 48 kilohertz dither applied to the numeric controlled oscillator in the digital phase-lock loop for the axis, and this is per axis. And that removes sticky points in the field. And this prototype uses large plates for the antennas, and it doesn't really seem to have a lot of sticky point issues. But if you use something like rods for the antennas, then you might experience more sticky points because you have less intrinsic capacitance and less mutual capacitance with the hand, so that it magnifies errors more. So what we're going to do is adjust the far field linearity with VCal, and we're going to adjust the sensitivity, and what the sensitivity will, will control the size of the field, and then we'll control the offset here, the offset plus, and that will move the field around. And that's it. So let me do this. Right, I got a ruler here. Oh, just say no to drugs. I got taped to the volume plate antenna, and it's offset about 3.5 inches, and so that puts the maximum out here about 8.5 inches. Sorry, you metric people. So, and you can see that when I move my hand here, the volume display is following my hand movement. So I'm going to do an autocal by pressing this button. Normally, if this was all set up for playing, it's not. It's all discombobulated for this demonstration. You would put your hands in a known position, in kind of the playing position, and I mean for your body, and then press this button here, right here. Press this button, and that would do an autocal. And then you would have everything set up so that when your body was in that position, everything would kind of work out. So, but I'm just going to stand away a little bit here and do the ACAL. Okay. So now we look at the field. Okay. What I'm going to do is reduce the sensitivity so that we can inspect the linearity of the field. And I'm going from 72 to about 64. And now I'm going to see the bottom LED won't turn off when I touch the LED, when I touch the antenna rather, with my fingertips. So I'm going to make it so that I'm going to adjust the, adjust the offset, lower the offset until it does turn off. And that lets us, now I'm going to move my hand so that the LED just turns off, and then I'm going to close my hand. And you can see that it's about 1 LED sized. Now that's the basic sensitivity of the field right at the antenna. The far field is controlled by the sensitivity, obviously, and the VCal. So what we really care about is out here, like what is the linearity out here for the last LED. And we can open and close our hand, look at the one before it. looks like it's less sensitive further out. So I'm going to lower the VCal at 16 right now. I'm going to try maybe 13. Maybe 12 or 11. Let's try 11. That seems good. So this field now is the same down here as it is out here. Right? So let's lower the sensitivity even more. Let's go to like 50, I don't know, 52 or something. And just kind of get a kind of a qualitative feel for it. Seems like the far field's still maybe a little twitchy there. I don't know. It doesn't really matter though. We're not going to be playing it this far out. But you know, you're trying to get it more or less linear. All right. So now we've linearized the volume field. Now let's make the size or the sensitivity of the volume field the way we would like it to be when we're playing it. So I'm going to increase the sensitivity back to about 72. This is just this is what I like. And so you can see that, and what we're looking at here is just the top LED, the distance from off to on. That seems about right to me. Right. Now it's too high, I think, for you have to hold your hand way above the plate. So let's lower it a little bit by decreasing increasing offset. Right. Let's see. It's maybe a little low. Okay, we're right at the top of the ruler here. Not that it really matters, but you know, I'm just showing you that we can move it around and size it, but that's kind of an alright distance. All right, so now if you were to play this, let me turn it up. I mean, it's a lot of, you'd have to move your hand a lot to turn off the sound, and you know, who wants to be doing this? I mean, some players do, but what you want is for the sound to come up to a playable level pretty quickly, and then you want a region that's more expressive and larger, or no, right? So let's do that with the knee. We'll go back to the envelope generator page. All right. So the VLOC is set to 48, which is just the top LED threshold. And above that, the knee won't work. Below that, the knee will work. So let's turn the knee up to maximum. See what that does. 63. See that the bottom three LEDs are coming on instantly. But we still have that top LED of region that hasn't changed in size. And if we lower the VLOC to, say, 32, you can see that the bottom two LEDs are at the threshold. Right? But, you know, I like a, these are, you know, 12 dB. I like about a 12 dB, so we'll set it back to 48 and turn the knee down to maybe about 6. Right, what does that give us? Gives us about maybe about half an inch, maybe a little more, from silence to playing. So, and the knee is per voice, not per, it's not a system preset, so you can change it however you want. Sometimes you want a sharper knee to do more percussive work. Sometimes you want to move it around when you're doing percussive work. But for cellos and human voices and stuff, you're generally setting it to something like 48 and 6 for the knee strength and location. So I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching.